Welcome to the Kairozart Podcast. My name is Javier Gonzalez.
Welcome to the Kairozart Podcast. My name is Javier Gonzalez. I am an artist from Texas.
I'm an artist from Texas.
Welcome to the Kairozart Podcast.
Welcome to the Kairozart Podcast. My name is Javier Gonzalez. I'm an artist from Texas. I started this podcast a while back because I thought about making a podcast for a while but never got around to doing it. I guess the reason I wanted to make a podcast was because I always have a lot of thoughts brewing in my mind that I feel the urge to talk about. My friends and family know me as the quiet one, but certain people know that when I get started talking, I won't shut the hell up. I also know that many of these episodes, I tend to be very serious and reserved. The truth is, I'm still getting used to doing these episodes. I have many reasons why I started this podcast, and I hope to continue for as long as I can. It's therapeutic, to be honest. I mean, believe me, I do want listenership. I do want people to tune in to listen if they gain anything from my ranting. But I've mostly done these episodes for myself. I'm 42 years old now. I wouldn't go as far as to say I've had the most amazing life ever, but it wasn't the worst either. I've been through some hardships, but I've learned a lot, and I'm grateful for it all regardless. I don't have any children, which is something I think about from time to time. I guess the older you get, you begin thinking about leaving something behind to your children, passing the torch, so to speak. So in a way, you could say that everything I've been working on and doing is so that I can leave something behind to my family, my nieces and nephews. I hope that one day they'll be able to listen to these recordings and glean something useful from them. At least perhaps they'll understand who their uncle was, just in case, God forbid, I'm not around when they're older. Sometimes I joke around and say that I am the jack of all trades, master of none. The reason I say that is because I'm always up for trying new things, if I'm able, especially if it's something creative. So I want to take this moment to talk a little bit about some of the different things I've worked on in the past. A lot of times I'd get interested in different art forms and think, that's cool, I want to try that. When I was younger, I was interested in drawing comic books, so I worked on a few of my own ideas as well as a few based on well-known stories. After buying a camcorder, I began making flipbooks, and I would record them frame by frame, so when I played the video, I was able to see them animated. It was crude, but I thought it was cool. It was my first attempt at 2D animation. Then I started making clay creatures and doing my own stop motion animation, where the creatures would fight each other. I even edited the video using a VCR, and I bought this cheap little sound mixer to add music to the videos. But I let a friend borrow the tapes one weekend and I never saw them again. We think his dad might have found the tapes and recorded over them. Another thing I was always interested in was prosthetic makeup, like the kind you see in horror movies. I had a subscription to Fangoria magazine, and I loved seeing how they made the makeup effects. So I took some clay and sculpted a creature face or some wounds, and then I would use plaster of Paris to make a mold. There was a novelty shop in Arlington that sold liquid latex, and I would pour it into the mold one layer at a time. Then I would let it dry and then remove it from the mold. I paint it up and apply it to my skin with latex or spirit gum. This was just stuff I would do at home in my room after school or during the weekends for fun. If I had known better, I would have taken pictures of this stuff, but I didn't think about it back then. This was way before the internet was as widely used as it is today. Another thing I forgot to mention that I did back then was make puppets. I mean, they weren't Jim Henson level puppets, But who cares? I was having fun. They were basically glorified sock puppets, where I used cardboard cut out, glued to the inside of a sock to form the mouth. Then I would make ears, eyes, cheeks, and a chin out of clay of all things. Just regular plastic clay. And then I'd paint the parts. It definitely wasn't made for long time use, that's for sure. I've done window painting, mural paintings, also a couple of times. Later on, I got a job doing caricatures, and I did that for many years. I began to use Photoshop for a while, and especially after I met my friend Dale Falcon and started working on a graphic novel, The Atlas Force Alliance. You can check out more about that on facebook.com/atlasforce. I worked on Photoshop, then in InDesign, which was what I used to lay out the book. I pretty much learned these programs on the fly as I was working on the AFA. I started work at a local print shop where I learned how to do screen printing, digital printing, laser engraving, and to run the embroidery machines. I worked there for many years. At the shop, we used mainly Corel Draw for the vector-based artwork, so I didn't use Illustrator as much, although I am learning to use that more now. But I learned how to use the large format digital printer to make banners, decals, and large prints. It was a roll-in Soljet printer, and the laser engraver was an epilogue engraver. I learned the whole process of doing silk screening t-shirts, from creating the vector artwork to color separations, making the screens, and printing the shirts. God, this episode sounded like a resume.
What are your qualifications?
Well, I attended Juilliard. I'm a graduate of Harvard Business School. I travel quite extensively. I lived through the Black Plague, and I had a pretty good time during that. I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy. Now, what do you think? You think I'm qualified?
I've made videos using video editing programs and posted some on YouTube. I've used Windows Movie Maker, Pinnacle, Sony Vegas, and Adobe Premiere. I've also worked on creative websites using web builders like WordPress. I don't do code though. I like to cook, I like to sing, I like to do impressions, yada yada. The only thing I never really explored is music, which is a shame because I think it'd be cool to create some music. So just to recap real quick some of the creative things I've been interested in: comic book illustration, animation, filmmaking, video editing, puppetry, prosthetic makeup effects, sculpting and mold making, oil painting portraits, caricatures, vector graphic art, screen printing, embroidery, laser engraving, digital printing, logo design, InDesign layouts, Photoshop, and now I'm creating a podcast, which I use audio editing programs to do. I've used Adobe Audition in the past when making videos, but right now I'm just using Audacity. And some of the things I'd like to learn to do well are airbrushing, which I've done some but I still need to work on, and computer animation, which I haven't the foggiest clue how to do. So what's the point of mentioning all this anyways? Why am I interested in doing all these various different things? Most of these things I do because the opportunity presents itself. Sometimes I get asked to do something and I'll do it. Other times I just get inspired to do something and I'll try and figure a way to do it. But I joke and say I'm the jack of all trades, master of none. I've worked so many different types of jobs. I was a scan coordinator, I did telemarketing research, I was a concrete technician, I worked at a movie theater as a projectionist, I've done caricatures at Six Flags, I worked at a print shop. I guess the point of what I'm saying is sometimes you have to try a lot of different things until you find something you're interested in. My only advice to anyone though is to find something that you enjoy and stick with it. I've done many things pertaining to art mostly, but the things I tend to gravitate towards are the ones that tell a story. Comic books are a great way to tell stories. I like writing, but it's not my strong suit. I tend to be better suited to visual arts. But something that tells a story, comics, movies, writing, storytelling, anything that conveys a message or ideas. My head swirls with ideas all the time. A lot of thoughts run through my mind all the time to where I feel like I'll never be able to illustrate them all. I write things down in notebooks, story ideas, or just thoughts I find interesting. Some ideas develop into parts of stories, some story ideas I'll write down, and even think of characters and scenes. I'll write them down, but who knows if I'll ever get a chance to develop them into a finished product. Sometimes I fantasize that if I don't ever get to do them, that maybe one day my nephew or niece will read them and end up doing something with them. Who knows? I would rather have somebody do something with them than for them to be lost in time. One of the principles in writing a story is that things come back full circle in a way. The main character ventures out of his or her world to overcome some conflict, and at the resolution he or she returns to their world and a new cycle begins. So now I ask myself again, why am I doing this podcast? Because the Spirit is moving me to. I ask myself, of all the different things I've tried doing, what did it all amount to? Well, to be honest, at this moment it doesn't seem all that much. For several years I was working at a print shop while working on a project with my friend. The project I was working on required a lot of time and InDesign, a lot of tedious computer work and not much artwork. At the print shop I got stuck mostly running the embroidery machines every day. So I stopped drawing, painting and creating anything for a long time. I ended up finally deciding to start doing something with my art. So I jumped back into painting and drawing. There's been a lot of struggle here recently with problems preventing me from fully devoting my time to doing artwork. Not enough resources, unfortunately, to continue doing it freely. I'm all about persevering through tough times, but this is ridiculous. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's true. Here's a little bit of behind the scenes knowledge about this podcast. I truly believe in doing as much as you possibly can with whatever resources you have available. The truth is, in order to create this podcast, I have to record it using the microphone from a pair of Sony headphones. There is a little microphone attached to the headphones that I taped to a tripod. No professional microphone, just a pair of headphones. I record it using a recording app through my cell phone. From there, I attach the phone to my laptop. And it's a used laptop that I bought from a pawn shop some time ago. I copy the audio recording into a folder on my laptop. Then I use Audacity to edit the audio, to clean it up and make it sound as good as I know how to. I use noise reduction to minimize the background noise. I'll use normalize to make the volume consistent. I use equalizer to boost the quality, then compression to finish it off. The Wi-Fi adapter on my laptop no longer works, so I can't get online with my laptop, which doesn't matter anyways, because right now I don't even have internet service. I use the internet on my phone. I find music to add to the podcast by going to incompetech.com on my phone, and then I download the royalty-free music files, which I transfer to my laptop from my phone. In Audacity, I add music to the voice audio and save it as an MP3 file. I create quick episode artwork using an old Photoshop 7 that's on my laptop. Then I transfer the MP3 and the JPEG files back to my phone, and from there I upload them into the Anchor app. I edit the episode details and post the episode. The audio quality is not as great as I would like, but it works for now. So there you have it. Using ingenuity in order to get something accomplished. Where there's a will, there's a way. If I can do this sort of thing with the little resources that I have, then anyone can. It just takes a little ingenuity. The moral of the story is this: if you have something you love to do, then do it. Don't wait for anyone else to give you the green light. And don't wait to get the best equipment you can. Start wherever you are now with whatever you have available. Robert Rodriguez made that film El Mariachi using $7,000. He saved the money and even had to volunteer himself as a guinea pig for some medical research lab to get some of the money. He filmed it using one camera and he was the cameraman. He did the setups. In order to create some of the action scenes, he actually had to jump across the hoods of vehicles, run and do all kinds of stunts with the camera on his shoulders to get some of the shots. He created the music, he edited the film, he campaigned to have it distributed and promoted it by himself. But he got it done, and it was a success, and now he's gone on to do bigger and better things. So we can look at what has been done before by people who had the tenacity and the will to do something they wanted to do. Don't give up on your dreams. It might seem like it will never happen, but you just have to keep moving, even if you lose it all. Because even if you lose, you still win. Everyone might say, oh, look at that guy. He gave his all for something he believed in and he ended up falling flat on his face. What a chump. That's a risk we take. I believe it still matters, even if we fail. As long as the endeavor we take is something worthwhile, if it's something meaningful. I don't condone giving your all for something destructive. Like, I'm not going to risk it all for something that is evil and will encourage others to commit evil as well. Because the world is full of people who give their lives for the pursuit of evil. People dedicate their entire life to evil causes. They work hard to do things that are detrimental to society. So why not work harder on things that are beneficial to society? But that's another episode. This is a Kairozart Podcast. If you made it this far, congratulations. You deserve a pat on the back for enduring my ridiculous nonsense. Please do me a favor, if you will. Share this episode with someone if you feel somebody might benefit from it. Or if it's too cringeworthy to listen to, then share it anyways with your friends for a laugh. Leave a voice message and tell me what you think. Do you enjoy these episodes? Let me know. If you hate my guts, let me know that too. I'd love to hear from you either way. Check out the Atlas Force Alliance Facebook page at facebook.com/atlasforce. I have a shop on Spreadshirt where I sell t-shirts from some of my designs. I'll be uploading more as time goes by. It's at shop.spreadshirt.com/Kairozart. That's shop.spreadshirt.com/Kairozart. There's also a YouTube channel for the Atlas Force Alliance, which doesn't have a whole lot on it at the moment, but you can see some of the videos I made, like 2 trailers I created for the Atlas Force Alliance graphic novel series. One is really cool. It features original music by a friend of ours named Scott Reardon. There's also a time-lapse video of me drawing and inking a scene from the Atlas Force. Check it out at youtube.com/user/AtlasLimited. I'll include all the links in the description. I'm also working on an Etsy page to sell artwork and a Patreon page for anyone who wants to help a brother out. Shameless promotion, I know. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I took the money.
That's it.
I'm sorry I took the money. I'm sorry! I'm
Enough.
sorry!
That's enough, Howie. That's enough, dear.
I'm
That's
awfully
just fine.
sorry.
That's fine. Now, boys, all the money is here. Come along, Howie.
Sorry.
And I just want to apologize to you again and tell you how I'm sorry I am
terribly
about the
sorry.
mistake. And if there's
sorry.
anything at all I can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. Come along, Howie.
Sorry.
It's time for your lobotomy.
I'm not sorry I took the money.
Alright, well that's it for this episode of the Kairozart Podcast. Hope you have a great day. Stay positive, stay creative, and I'll talk to you guys later. I'll include all of this links to the descriptions. I'll include all the links in these. I started this podcast a while back because I thought I started this podcast a little while back because I thought about making a podcast for a while, but never got around to doing it. I guess the reason I wanted to make a podcast is because I always had a lot of thoughts on brewing in my mind that I feel the urge to talk about.